right then. So all of our election laws can greatly impact the kind of candidate that's successful based on what your laws are like. Can you see how a candidate might do well in a primary state but not a caucus state? Or vice versa?
There's more convincing to be done.
More convincing to be done where?
I mean, like during the caucus, I mean, the primary, you go in, you do your own vote. You're not being, nobody's trying to persuade you there at the primary.
Okay.
But the caucus is all about persuading.
Okay. Go ahead, Emily.
I had a question.
Mhm.
So, are there like a bunch of little tiny caucuses like around, and then they all do one big one,
Yeah.
which is the one that just happened?
Okay, so what happens is your state is organized into precincts, and all that means is a geographic area, like a region or a district, and your state election board draws that. So
It'd be like at Collin County
yes,
College.
yeah. So it's very likely that we all vote at Collin County, like at that precinct there. So you go, you show up, and you vote. But that's happening all over the United States. And then remember we did on the little strips, you have your precinct, then that will cause delegates to go to the county convention, then to the state convention, then to the national convention. And every time you're kind of like building that support for the party and you're talking about those candidates. So it's possible that our precinct might choose a candidate, and then a precinct in Houston would choose a different candidate, and then a precinct in Austin would choose a different candidate. And that's what I'm going to show you in just a second. Your delegates are going to be awarded to the national convention based on the turnout of all of those different precincts. Chris had a question.
It wasn't a question, I was just kind of a comment.
Go ahead. You want to answer what I said? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the caucus. It seems like it takes a lot more like effort and input and time. So only people who would like really care about a certain candidate would want to go. Not like it's a lot. It's more time consuming.
Okay. So what kind of candidate then do you think would fare well by the people who would attend the caucus?
A more extreme candidate, either left or right, depending on the state.
Okay. More extreme. What else? Chris, because you already...
I wasn't sure, but I think I'm kind of like explain why Donald Trump didn't do as well, because he appeals to a lot of and who aren't the kind of people who would go to a caucus.
Okay. But then people that would go to the caucus that are extreme would probably choose Cruz, right? Because he's like a legit politician, and like they would, he kind of understands more like what's happening in the party. Okay. The other thing is, you guys, candidates that have a real intense following do better at a caucus. That they have this real grassroots following. Candidates with name recognition tend to do better in a primary state. So a classic example would be 2008, which is what a lot of that clip was from. So you had President Obama, who at the time was Senator Obama, and at the time you had Senator Clinton, and Senator Clinton had much better name recognition than Barack Obama did. He did much better in the caucus states initially because he had this loyal young person, college following, intense support. She had all the name recognition, and so they were kind of like back and forth between the states until eventually his name recognition started like up, and then it was able to carry him to win. Say it again.
That's about that.
Okay, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so if you were going to describe the caucus in one word, how would you describe it? Crazy. I like that.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, but if the primary was an election, what is a caucus? I think a meeting is really good. Here's the thing though. They have the same objective. At the caucus, they are narrowing a field of candidates. They're just doing it in an open forum. They're doing it as an opportunity to talk and discuss and debate and see, what do we think, what do we like. In a primary, it's very like individual and private, and nobody has to know what you did because it's literally a secret ballot. Gabby.
Okay, so I know in the clip, like with the caucus and stuff, you just wrote it, like one was like you just write it on a piece of paper and the other is just counting. Like, how is that actually official?
Okay, so I'll tell you guys a story then. None of it's super official. We didn't vote on computer until after the 2000 election because of all the stuff that happened in Florida. You guys remember with the 2000 election and okay. Before that, we voted on a piece of paper that looked like a Scantron and poked holes in it. And then it would run through a little like counting machine. We vote on computer, but that doesn't mean everybody in the country does because voting is local and it's run by volunteers. So I can't remember which election it was. I think it was 2012. I went to vote, and you can early vote, and I walked in there to early vote, and I gave them my driver's license, and they said, well, you already voted. I said, no, I didn't. And they looked, and they said, yeah, you voted yesterday. I said, well, my husband came yesterday, so then they looked him up, and they had not even paid attention, and they put him in as me. So then they're like, well, do you want to vote under his name then? I want you to understand, no, I'm not. So there's not a lot of control over this process.
It reminds me of that game where like, yeah, where like somebody stands in the corner and goes like 4, and then all the 4s have to sit down. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Where they're like
about.
walking.
I get it. I get what you're saying though. Yeah. Let's not. We're good. We're good. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I know that.
All right. Just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you would prefer to participate in a primary. Raise your hand if you would prefer to participate in a caucus.
It'd be kinda fun.
Okay, Aaliyah, why?
I feel like listening to other people's like objectives or what they have to say would maybe sway me like they're right or
Give you some more opinions. Okay.
in case I miss something or
Okay. Rachel.
I feel like it'd be better to go to a primary just because like a caucus, like you might not necessarily get to have a say if nobody knows you and if you don't really know your place. Whereas with a primary, your vote is your say, and I feel like there are other opportunities to learn about candidates, like the debates and stuff.
Interesting process for sure.
What
Okay.
if the Republicans write it down and the Democrats do the group thing?
Yes, but again, remember that was particular in Iowa. Like other states, Nevada has a caucus. They might not necessarily do it that way. It just depends. You know, just like we vote on computer, and other places might still vote on a piece of paper. Okay. So I want to show you, like, okay, what does all of this mean? So everybody is having all of these state competitions, and that results in delegates to go to the national conventions. There is a separate convention. There's a Republican convention and a Democratic convention. The parties decide how many delegates are going to get to go. So the Republican Party is going to allow 2,472 people as these kind of delegates to come to the national convention. The way they're going to be chosen is based on the primary of the caucus, but then they're allocated still a little bit differently. So if you look at all the green states, those states are going to have what's called a winner-take-all system. So whichever Republican wins the most votes in total in the state of Florida gets all of their delegates sent to the national convention. Whereas if you look at Kansas, right? Okay, Kansas, theirs is proportional. So there's 10 candidates on the ballot. They might say, well, you had to get at least 20%, but everybody that got more than 20% of the vote is going to get a proportion of the delegates. So Trump would get 8, and this person would get 4, and this person would get 2. We're chasing this magic number. Once you have won 1,237 delegates, you are basically going to be the nominee for the party.
What's with the states without the data or whatever?
I'll show you in a second. So, as a result of last night, the New Hampshire primary, the Republican Party, they do theirs proportional in New Hampshire. So Trump got 10 delegates last night. Kasich got 4. Cruz got 3. Bush got 3. Rubio got 3. So yes, Trump won, but he has 10 delegates, and then whatever delegates he got from Iowa. Sanders got, see, they do 28 for their state. And so Sanders got 15, Clinton got 9, and there's no other candidate. And that's it. So you get that magic number. The Democrat numbers and the Republican numbers are different. They could even give within the same state, like I'd have to add that up, but like we probably send more delegates to the Republican convention in Texas than we do to the Democratic convention in Texas, just because the Republican Party is stronger here, and so they might let us send more people, because the party decides. That number is fluid. It can change every year. The way they're allocated changes. Like, it used to be that the Republicans did them all winner-take-all, which meant that they would have a candidate chosen really, really early. And the Democrats do them almost all proportional because they want to make sure that everybody gets represented at the convention. All right, so what would have to happen then for us to come up to the convention and not have a candidate and not already know who our candidate was going to be? Yeah, you'd have to have not reached that number. So what's happening is, you know, like we said, some of those candidates have already dropped out. Well, what if they can stay the course? You know, if John Kasich can keep staying in there, and if people will keep giving Marco Rubio money, and just keep giving Carly Fiorina, just stays in there forever. So if they keep getting money, we could make it to the convention and have nobody have that number. So what that would mean then is we would call that a brokered convention. And at the brokered convention, then the delegates would actually end up deciding, and it would be like 1968 all over again. So up until this year, and I've never seen it happen, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. Yes, ma'am.
At a convention, is it like the caucus where they just talk back and forth with each other?
Well, let me show you. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so at the national convention, let me show you what it looks like when they're casting their ballots.
Cast 48 votes for Barack Obama.
We got to start in the beginning because this is too good.
Please welcome Democratic National Convention Secretary Alice Travis Drummond. I will now ask our Convention Secretary to call the roll of the states. Thank you, Speaker Pelosi, and thank you. Now, according to the rules passed by this convention, following the nominating speeches for president, we proceed immediately to the roll call. The roll call shall continue until we have a nominee, whom I believe will be our next president. It is now my honor to begin with the great state of Alabama. Alabama, you have 60 votes. How do you cast them?
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The great state of Alabama, one of the most diverse delegations in this hall. A state that is ready to cast the first vote of this convention for the next President of the United States. The great state of Alabama cast 48 votes for Barack Obama. Madam Secretary, the great state of Alabama cast 5 votes for Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Thank you, Alabama. Alabama cast 48.
Okay, I won't make you watch the whole thing, but it keeps going like that, and they go through state by state by state.
Does every state feel like giving a speech before?
So, but remember, if you have proportional delegates, Obama and Clinton were the top 2 candidates, and neither one of them dropped out, but Alabama had voted previously, and so other people may have gotten delegates, but they weren't in the top 2, so they didn't announce them. Does that make sense? Like, when I just showed you that list of all the people in New Hampshire that got votes, at the end of the day, when they go to the national convention, they're not going to go, well, we gave 3 to Rubio and 3 to Cruz and 3 to, they're just going to say the top candidates. The only reason they're doing Clinton is because the party had a lot of, Clinton was the established candidate, and a lot of people thought she was going to win, and then Obama was kind of like an unknown commodity, and he really rose to incredible popularity because of the voters, and I think it's a nod to Senator Clinton to make sure that she still gets the respect that they felt like she deserved. So.
They do have other votes, but they're not worth it.
Yeah, they're just not saying it. Yeah.
So does that mean they have 60 votes for Democrat and 60 votes for Republican?
Not necessarily. The party would decide, and the Democrat has, I think that they have more people come to their convention generally. I think that they have a higher number of delegates, so the party just decides. But it is based on population and party strength. Okay? All right, so they're going to do that. They're going to go through and through and through, and when we finally get to the magic number, then we have a presidential candidate. Woohoo! Okay?
Is that
Because like when I was a kid, I mean, the national convention would be on all day. I mean, not that I watched all day, but it would be on all day. They would show the debates over the platform. I mean, they would show everything. Now it's like prime time. I don't think